Turnpike Sports is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com. Welcome to Turnpike Sports. I'm Dave Weishottle, and as always, I'm joined by my producer and co-host, Doug Weishottle. Doug, this weather is getting nicer. It's starting to feel like summer. Lots of things are reopening. The mask mandates are going in all the right directions. It feels so good.
And a lot of Nevada casinos got the go-ahead to do 100% open. So
I'm hearing a lot of poker rooms out in Las Vegas are taking down their plexiglass.
Yes,
so,
yes. Everything's moving in the right direction.
They should have a ceremony for that, the taking down of the plexiglass.
Well, I know Pennsylvania is scheduled for Memorial Day to go 100% everywhere.
Yeah.
Jersey is a little earlier than that. And, everything is trending the right way. Inoculations, injections, I don't know what you call it. Vaccinations. I couldn't think of the word there, even though I got one. Everyone's starting to move ahead in the right way, and it feels good again.
It feels great, unless you're part of the New York Yankees, who seem to catch COVID even though they get vaccinated. So what do they call that, breakthrough? They call that a breakthrough thing that, even though you got vaccinated, you still catch COVID. I don't know how that works.
The vaccine supposedly is only 90 to 95%.
Comedian Bill Maher just he had a breakthrough, if that's what they're calling it.
You can still catch it. It's it's just the symptoms when you do get it aren't as severe as...
Yeah, apparently all the Yankees are asymptomatic who had it. So, that's good.
Also, the past weekend we had BetFest.
Yep. A lot of fun, a lot of great information given
great
out
panels,
to a lot of people.
Great panels. SBC and 76 Sports Capital Advisory put on a great show. It's the first one.
Excellent.
Hope to see many, many more. Hope to see some live ones, too.
Well, we got a great show coming up, and with the reopening, we have a ton of media deals, and I think one of the biggest media deals was Better Collective acquiring the Action Network, and I love the Action Network. I love Better Collective, too, but the Action Network, the app is on my phone, so I love it. I think it's a great thing for the gambling industry, and to tell us all about it, we have Adam Small coming up. From Better Collective and usbets.com. And then later on, we're going to have a By the Numbers segment and also a Turnpike Sports book report. It's been a busy week in sports, so let's take a trip down the Turnpike. Today's trip down the Turnpike is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Exit 1.
Keeping on with the theme that you just mentioned prior to getting into the rundown here, media deals. Nielsen released their...
There were a lot of them.
Well, Nielsen released a report detailing the amount of ad spend, especially in the first quarter of 2021 here. According to Nielsen, online sportsbooks and gambling sites dumped $153.6 million in ad buys into local stations during the first quarter of this year. By comparison, the first quarter of 2019, only $10 million was spent.
Well, let me tell you something. Anyone who lives in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Colorado and Michigan, I'm not sure about Nevada, but it seems like every other commercial is either an online poker, an online casino, or an online sportsbook site. So, certainly easy to believe these numbers.
Well, if even a casual listener has to have noticed, or a casual watcher, TV, radio, the amount of advertising for the sports books, the casinos, has increased dramatically. I mean, TV, I'm starting to see blocks of ads now.
Oh, yeah.
You see 1, 2, 3 right in a row. Whether it's a sports book or a casino doesn't really matter, but they're right after each other in certain times during the day, at night, that sort of thing. And
every time I turn on the TV, I see a new commercial. A couple days ago, I turned it on. It was an online casino. It was Stardust, and it was shocking. I was like, every time, every week, it seems like a new online gambling entity, which is great. I mean, if you're into it, but it just seems like, wow, it's almost overwhelming.
Well, I've been noticing a lot of Unibet and Bet365 now too. I saw a couple of those.
Bet365 is, it just seems like it's a lot in the North Jersey, New York City area, because isn't the you're a New York Jets fan?
Jets. Yeah, they sponsor the Jets in the stadium there.
Yeah, they sponsor the Jets.
Yeah,
which by the way, the New York Jets play in New Jersey, so so it makes sense.
Well, that's why such a heavy concentration up in North Jersey. But again, FanDuel and DraftKings spent the most. FanDuel had $57.7 million in local ad spend. DraftKings came in second with $43.6 million. Take those two entities combined, it's about 66% of the overall spend. So 2/3 was spent by FanDuel and DraftKings.
I wonder if that number takes into account the television shows they do. I mean, here in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, there are like half-hour DraftKings betting shows or FanDuel betting shows and things like that on. I don't know where it's at, MSG or Yes Network or SNY, but they're all there. I mean, not only do you see their commercials, you see their TV shows.
Well, compare those numbers for FanDuel and DraftKings. That's about $100 million right there. On national TV spend, because we're just talking about local stuff, which is the different states.
Yeah.
Adding all that up, the national spend for FanDuel and DraftKings was a combined $15 million.
Huh. Wow. Okay.
And that includes $5.5 million for a Super Bowl ad for DraftKings.
Okay.
So really, if you take out the Super Bowl ad, about $10 million in spend for a national advertising campaign.
That doesn't sound too much.
It's not, because everything is segmented right now. If you look at the way the sports betting industry is growing, it's state by state by state. There's no national framework. I think once you get up to about maybe 40 states, maybe 35, you're going to see a switch to national advertising versus the local ad spends. And that's going to be kind of interesting to see. Right now, the local TV, even local radio, according to Nielsen, the first quarter local radio ad spend was $4 million.
That's not bad.
Town Square Media reported a 4,000% jump in the first quarter year over year here. Well, 2020, 2021.
We actually have a radio show on Town Square Media in New Jersey. Actually, two Town Square Media. And, there's a lot of interest in New Jersey radio advertising for sports books.
Well, given a breakdown here even further, digital ads also accounted for 12.7% of the overall ad spend in the category. National TV was 3.7%, which tells you, again, since it's state by state and it's segmented, until there's a national framework, you're going to see local TV continually getting the 78% that they've been getting in terms of the overall spend money.
I am also seeing sports betting advertisement on Roku. I guess it's geolocation.
That falls under digital ads.
Yeah, it falls under digital?
Yes.
Okay, no, but Roku TV has it's very interesting to see them pop up when you're watching something that comes out of a state that doesn't have sports betting, and all of a sudden you're seeing a sports betting commercial, and you realize, oh, that's just Roku with the geolocation.
Well, one last little stat for this. Online gaming, which ranks about 11th in the total categories of most ad spend in the year, they accounted for 2% of all spot TV spending. This is the biggest market here. Legal services accounts is the biggest ad spend market. You'll see more ads for legal services than anything else. They only do 7%. So,
okay.
So 2% to 7% is not that big of a jump.
That's actually pretty funny because in New Jersey, all you're seeing is lawyers too, lawyer commercials and sports betting commercials.
And so, the only other
pretty interesting.
Really, the other ads I see are some Medicare stuff too. I see a lot of Medicare ads. So,
Joe Namath, I don't know what he does a commercial for, but I see him all the time talking about, I don't even know what it is, some Medicare or Medicaid or something like that. But every day I see Joe Namath, get the money you're entitled to. That was my Joe Namath impression.
I just missed the days of when you saw Lee Majors doing the bionic ear implant in commercials. But
that or, what is it, Tom Selleck with reverse mortgages.
Yes.
I see a lot of that, yeah.
Now it's Martin Sheen with that.
I don't know.
The prescription discount thing.
Yeah, what is it, an app or something like that?
Yeah, it's an app. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Him and his son, Charlie Sheen's in it too now.
Exit 2.
According to Japan Today, Japan is opening its first gym for eSports exclusively.
What the hell does that mean? I mean, are there like physical exercises involving eSports, or are they just talking about you sit there and just play eSports and they're calling that a gym?
They will include a lounge and gaming PCs outfitted with the games themselves. Valorant, League of Legends are all going to be preloaded for the games. That's all that's going to be on these PCs.
Okay.
And you can either book a 3-hour window with a PC, or you can do a monthly fee.
Okay, so this isn't a gym in the classic Western sense. You walk in and you lift weights, or you do a spinning class, or you jog on the treadmill, right?
No,
this is not a gym.
You can consult with trainers at this gym.
Trainers meaning coaches for your game?
Coaches for the game, but also the trainers who can actually help you like stretch and everything else like that. So,
okay.
Because if you're going to sit there for hours playing a game, you kind of need to have a little bit of flexibility.
I got to tell you, I understand that. I mean, I when you play online poker, you're sitting there for about 5 hours during a tournament, and you're like, I got to stretch, or my back is killing me. So I can see that with regard to esports.
Well, like I said, they're treating it just like a regular gym. You can pay by a window of time, and they're charging $13 US.
Now, do they have like what they have in poker rooms across the country? They have masseuses coming up behind you and rubbing. No, nothing like that.
No, nothing that extravagant.
Okay, well, maybe they should look into it.
Well, here you can do for $50 a month. You can have unlimited time at the PCs, and then you can have optional coaching sessions that are added on for $25 an hour. So basically, everything's a la carte at this esports gym. They're claiming
the gym thing is throwing me. I'm thinking physical exercise. I mean, certainly it's a physical activity, sitting there and stretching and things like that. But when you say gym, I'm thinking actually working on your body or working on your pecs or your, whatever, your cardio or something.
Well, when you're talking about esports, there's no cardio.
Yeah,
really
I got it.
But
they give out these very expensive sneakers you can buy that had the sneakers that never touch the ground.
There are actually some teams now doing mental health professional consulting.
Okay, you got.
So there's all that stuff, and I'm assuming they're going to incorporate some of those things into what they're calling, and the name of this place is eSports Gym.
Okay,
oddly enough,
I'm equating this with playing poker for a long time online. Sometimes when you're playing a long time, you have a hard time keeping focused. You get weary, you get tired, you get frustrated, and you get tired. You start seeing things when you're playing too long. Maybe that's what they're talking about.
Well, they're really focusing on coaching.
Yeah,
more so than anything here. I mean, eSports Gym, you're right, is kind of a misnomer, but it is a place to go and train, which is like a gym.
Okay, all right.
So, but again, eSports Gym, which is its name.
That's the name of it.
Kind of simple name for
All
it.
right.
Kind of oddly enough, they named it that way. They're claiming that they are the first one in the world.
Well, yeah, I've never heard of anything like this.
Unfortunately, there are 2 California guys
Oh, okay.
who are claiming they opened the world's first esports gym back in 2018
Uh-oh.
in Los Angeles.
Is there going to be...
There's no trademarks or whatever.
Okay, nothing
This
like
is
that?
just, I hate to say it this way, it's a pissing contest.
Well, it's very good marketing.
Yes.
You know, it's a very public feud.
And they came
very
up,
good marketing.
The 2 guys in California came up with a good name.
What is it?
Since it's in L.A.,
All right.
they call it the E-Coliseum.
I like that. That's nice. I like that. It's better than the esports gym, by the way.
And they opened in May 2018, and for about $40 a month, gamers can enter tournaments, get trainers, and meet other esports influencers or stars or whatever you want to call them.
Okay.
As opposed to just, going in and playing a game.
Well, good.
If you want to do that for esports gym in Japan. But California.
Maybe this is going to start a
guys.
trend, maybe more esport gyms or maybe more e-coliseums are going to open because of these stories.
I think esports gym is probably the first one calling itself a gym.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they may be right.
Exit 3.
We always talk intellectual property in one way, shape, or form, trademarks, copyrights. We're going to talk counterfeit.
Okay, counterfeit.
And I was actually surprised at not the fact that these counterfeit items existed, but the sheer number of these in one shipment that they caught. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers in Indianapolis, considering the Indy 500 is coming up, I figured we stay with a story in Indianapolis here. They seized a shipment containing 330 counterfeit championship sports rings.
Ooh.
Destined for a store in Texas.
Let me tell you something. That's big business.
That's huge business.
Especially for, you watch the Pawn Stars on, I guess it's the History Channel. Everyone's coming in with rings, championship rings, and this ring, and I got this ring, and I got it from a trainer or something like that. They are always looking carefully to see if it's an actual real ring.
Well, the officers noticed something wrong with the shipment and routing information on the package, so they pulled it aside to be inspected.
So they saw something wrong with the packaging.
Packaging.
Wow.
They didn't notice anything inside yet until they noticed outside.
See, those guys are professionals. Wow, to notice a packaging wrong.
Well, that's their job.
Yeah,
they're trained
so.
to figure all this stuff out. Usually what happens here is you see these counterfeit rings being sent to a location that has a website, and people buy them online. Mm-hmm. And by the time they get them delivered and they're fake, there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah,
that's what these usually are.
Okay.
But they found that this package contained 330 counterfeit championship sports rings. They were sent to a specialist to be evaluated. The specialist said not only was the packaging really poorly done on each individual ring, but they also felt plastic.
Huh. Okay.
So they confiscated everything, and this was the rundown of what they found inside. 117 counterfeit Los Angeles Lakers championship rings, 73 Dallas Cowboy rings, 53 Steelers, 17 New England Patriots, 9 Dallas Mavericks, 10 Chicago Bull rings, 9 Kansas City Chiefs rings, 10 Chicago Bears rings, 3 Philadelphia Eagles, 10 St. Louis Cardinals, 9 New York Yankees, and 10 Texas A&M championship rings.
It's interesting. Oh, okay. Now I see what you did. But no, where is this coming from? I mean, I know it was destined for Texas, but where was it coming from?
It came from out of the country.
Out of the country. It got to Indianapolis. That's where they saw there was a problem with it.
That's where they caught it. Yep.
Okay, that's where they caught it.
It was coming from outside the country, going through Indy, en route to Texas.
All right.
And if all these rings had been real, the value of the shipment was just under $500,000.
Wow.
So the Customs and Border Protection officers saved some people a lot of money because they would have just been,
I wonder if the store in Texas paid anything for them. I wonder if they're
not
the big victim here.
Well, that wasn't disclosed, though, so it might have been. They may have been the victim of the fraud. more so
the
than their
store in
customers.
Texas, or they might have been a part of it. Who knows? I think once you find these counterfeit things, I think that's when the investigation begins.
Well, the Better Business Bureau released figures, and because of the pandemic, online shopping, online ordering, or however you want to phrase it, is up 57%.
Sure.
Because no one could go anywhere.
Sure.
Because of the pandemic. And this is one of the types of scams you got to look out for.
Well, that's the problem. You can't inspect these rings before you buy them.
Exactly. Well, unless you go into a store and you're
but
if this is just online.
If you're buying them online, you really can't inspect them. You can't hold them. You can't feel if they're real or not.
And they have 117 Los Angeles Lakers rings. On the website they probably said one only. So they raised the price.
Right, yeah.
So, you don't know what the scam was at this, but luckily the Customs and Border Protection officers got it before anybody got hurt.
Wow.
Exit 4.
And staying in Indianapolis.
Oh, wow.
We have the Indy 500 coming up on Memorial Day.
A lot of Indianapolis talk.
We have the first Indy 500 Bitcoin-sponsored car.
Really? Wow.
Ed Carpenter Racing.
Elon Musk did a number on the Bitcoin industry there on Saturday Night Live.
He tried.
It's amazing. I mean, a statement on Saturday Night Live really affected the Bitcoin industry. It's shocking.
Well, again, someone of Musk's stature.
Sure.
That does go a long way.
But he was even playing a character.
Yeah.
But it's amazing what his words did.
Well, going back to the Indy 500.
All right.
Ed Carpenter Racing announced that Bitcoin will be the primary paint scheme on Rhinus VK's number 21 Chevy car for the Indy 500. And I took a look at
what's the paint scheme?
The black and gold.
A black and gold? Okay.
But if you take a look,
will it have that big B Bitcoin symbol on it?
I took a look at the car itself, the image of the car. It looks really cool.
Oh, wait, I got a computer in front of me.
Well, right now it's going to be just on the number 21 car, VK's car. It's the first time Bitcoin has ever been involved in the IndyCar series. It's the first for both the series and also for the racing teams. According to the deal...
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing that. Okay, yeah.
Ed Carpenter will also be the first team in NASCAR history to integrate Bitcoin as a payment option for all its employees. So people are going to have an option of getting paid in dollars or Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's one of the Indy cars, and it has the big B symbol on each side of it.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful color. It's black and gold.
Now, you mentioned Elon Musk making fun of it, Bitcoin and all the industry itself. This guy,
I don't know if he was making fun of it. He was doing a skit on it.
Ed Carpenter is such a believer in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
He turned down other sponsors to just go with Bitcoin.
Well, he has other sponsors on here. He's
got other, but the main sponsor, he turned away other companies.
Oh, no.
He went straight for Bitcoin.
Looking at the car, Bitcoin is the main sponsor. It's the biggest logo on the car.
And they're also going to be doing a crowdfunding event while the car is racing.
Okay.
They're creating its own QR code, the little square with the dots in it.
Okay.
That people can actually donate to the team.
Pretty good.
So kind of interesting. And for the bettors out there.
Let me tell you something. You tell me that, that's the car I'm going to be looking for first when I'm watching the Indy 500.
I just thought the design was so cool.
No, it does look nice. It's very nice.
For betting information, just so you know, if you want to bet on VK, the Bitcoin car, or if you want to bet on the car or VK, either one.
That's number 21, right?
VK has 3 top 5 and 8 top 10 finishes in 18 starts this season.
Okay.
He finished 20th in last year's Indy 500, and I took a look at the odds for him.
Okay, good.
At PointsBet, he's at plus 2,500 to win. And at Play Sugar House, Bet Rivers, William Hill, and Unibet, he's at plus 3,500.
It looks like I'm going to put some money on
I may
Play
throw a
Sugar
couple
House,
bucks.
Bet Rivers, and William Hill, and Unibet. Yeah.
And just one last little note, this is not the first cryptocurrency sponsor racing has had. Last year, Cash App sponsored Bubba Wallace's car, and it had the Bitcoin logo on it. It wasn't the main logo, but it was one of the logos on it. And Crypto.com partnered with Aston Martin to sponsor the Formula One team car.
Wow. Aston Martin, huh?
Yeah.
And today's trip down the Turnpike was brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
And as always, you can get in touch with Turnpike Sports by calling or texting us at 609-512-5910. That's 609-512-5910. At Turnpike Sports is the show's handle on Facebook and Twitter. At Turnpike Sports Radio is our handle on Instagram. And as always, our email address is info@turnpikesportsradio.com. And don't forget, you can listen to the show via Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, radio.com mobile app, as well as Stitcher and YouTube. You can also watch us on your smart TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV. Head on over to turnpikesports.net. You'll be able to watch our video channel there.
Well, stick around. We got a great show coming up for you. Got a By the Numbers segment and a Turnpike Sports book report coming up later on. But after this, I'm talking with Adam Small from Better Collective and USBets.com. We're going to be talking about the Better Collective acquiring the Action Network, which is a huge deal in the sports betting industry. And we're going to hear all about it coming up right after this on Turnpike Sports.
Tax Solutions Now is a complimentary referral service that connects callers to companies that provide tax services.
Money matters. If you owe thousands in back taxes to the IRS, how much can Tax Solutions Now save you?
I paid less than I owe.
That's right, money matters. So call Tax Solutions Now and get the IRS off your back. Since 2014, Tax Solutions Now has been a leader in the tax resolution industries. Remove wage garnishments, property liens, fines, and penalties. Qualify for the Fresh Start program or even uncollectible status. How much can Tax Solutions Now save you?
I owed the IRS over $10,000. I paid a fraction of what I owed.
Call now to reduce or even eliminate your back taxes.
I called Tax Solutions Now and got the IRS off my back. Thanks. You saved us a ton of money.
Money matters. How much can Tax Solutions Now save you? Call now and find out.
Call 800-683-7377. 800-683-7377. 800-683-7377.
Free stuff is awesome, but free stuff that will spice up your bedroom is even better. Just go to adamandeve.com and select almost any one item for 50% off, and then we'll load on the free stuff. Just enter this very exclusive code, BABE16 at checkout, and you'll get 10 tantalizing free gifts, including a sexy item for him, a special toy for her, and a third item you'll both enjoy. And 6 extra special bonus items that are sure to rev your engine, pique your curiosity, and even blow you away. Plus, free shipping! Always sent in discreet packaging. Go to adamandeve.com now. Get 50% off plus the 10 free gifts when you enter the exclusive offer code BABE16. That's BABE16, because without it, no free stuff. That's BABE16 at adamandeve.com.
Welcome back to Turnpike Sports. The gambling industry is reopening more and more every week, and the sports betting deals are coming at a fast pace. One of the biggest that just occurred is Better Collective's acquisition of the Action Network. And to tell us all about this huge deal and what it means for the sports betting world from USBets.com and Better Collective, we have returning guest Adam Small. Adam, thanks for joining us, and congratulations to you and everyone at Better Collective on this incredible deal.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. It's great to be back. It's always awesome to be on this show. I love this show, and appreciate how much support you guys are always giving us. Yeah, it's exciting. I was telling you before the call, and I'll say again for the listeners, I'm not one of the people that responsible for having made this deal happen or anything, so I don't want to be giving myself too much credit or anything like that. But I am part of the same company and really excited to be working with these guys and excited about what Better Collective is doing, having first acquired my company a couple of years ago and now this one. And it's just clear that they've got a lot of big plans for growth in the U.S. and to become a name that more and more people recognize here on this side of the pond.
You know, people who listen to this show hear me say Better Collective all the time because we have some of the great writers on from usbets.com, sportshandle.com, PennBets, and all their affiliated sites. But for people who are casual participants in the sports betting world, can you tell us a little more about Better Collective?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's probably something that I think the average person who's into sports betting isn't particularly aware that companies like ours exist or exactly what we do. But what we are is a big media organization in the sports betting and gambling world that covers sports betting and gambling around the world in a number of different formats. In some places, there are websites that do things like try to help people with making smart betting decisions. In other places, there are subscription products, including one of ours, rotogrinders.com, which offers subscriptions for daily fantasy sports, as well as Vegas Insider, which offers premium products surrounding sports betting and other products as well that we're involved with here in the U.S. But there are also subscription products around the world. We do paid media. We do news coverage of the industry. There's just Better Collective has thousands of websites in various markets all around the world that cover the industry. And while they're based in Denmark, they have offices. We have offices in many countries around the world, including now several in the United States. And we exist within the sports betting and gambling ecosystem as a company that both provides media and coverage and products around the industry, but also helps bring new customers into the industry and to our gambling site partners via what's called affiliate marketing. And that's how we generate revenue. It's basically a form of advertising where we get paid rather than for showing ads to people, we get paid for each new customer that we send. So we focus on acquiring new customers for our gambling industry partners.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because we always get more and more questions at the show about the sports betting, the business side of sports betting and how companies operate in the industry. I mean, we always throw around terms like CPA deals or revenue sharing deals, but can you get into a little more how Better Collective does business in the industry?
Yep. Yeah, so you mentioned CPA and rev share deals. That's a good place to start. I've written quite a bit about this personally over the years because I've been involved in affiliate marketing for pretty close to 20 years now. So in affiliate marketing, there are several different ways that you can be compensated as an affiliate. One way is by CPA, which is cost per acquisition. And that's where you simply get paid a flat fee for each new customer that you send. And the CPAs can vary greatly depending on what products you're promoting and what countries you're promoting them in and what kind of players you're sending. They vary very, very tremendously between different affiliates and different markets and so on. But that's effectively what it is. If you send 1,000 players, you get paid 1,000 times whatever that number is. On the other hand, there is something called revenue sharing that I think a lot of people have heard of, but maybe don't necessarily understand entirely, which is rather than getting paid for each customer you send, you get a percentage of revenue that those customers generate after you send them. And typically, it's only really available these days to bigger affiliates, at least in the U.S. You've got to pay a lot of money just to get licensed to be a revenue sharing partner in most states. But even in Europe now, it's much less common than it was 10 or 15 years ago. The contracts are complicated, and as an affiliate, in order to be properly protected, have your business interests protected, you really need to be spending a fair amount of money up front on legal costs. And so I think these days probably more affiliates are doing CPA. Definitely in the U.S. that's the case. but both of these are ways of doing this kind of marketing. And the biggest difference is that, I think from the casual listener perspective, they think that when an affiliate's getting rev share, that they're, rooting for their players to lose, that you're trying to send players who lose money, or trying to give, in the case of sites that give sports betting tips, trying to give bad advice in order to get people to lose money. And that's really not the case. I think that's a popular perception among especially certain people on gambling Twitter that like to grumble a lot about affiliates, is that they're trying to make people lose money. Look, this business is not about giving money to players. The gambling business is not about bringing in players who you will then give money to and let them cash it out. Gambling sites and casinos are trying to win money off customers, and they expect when they receive a new customer, whoever that is, that the gambling site is going to be profitable against that customer, whether it's sports betting, casino, poker, or whatever. There aren't a whole lot of players that are cashing out more than they're depositing, and that's pretty transparent in this business. So when you're an affiliate and you send hundreds or thousands of players every month, on average, those players are going to be losing players. It's not because you're giving them bad advice. It's because these products are entertainment products that are not intended for people to be profiting off of them. And so yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of difference in terms of how you recruit players based on whether you're on rev share or CPA. The biggest difference is that one of these types of compensation you get paid up front for players that you send, and the other type of compensation you get paid over time as they generate revenue.
We're coming out of a very challenging time in the sports betting and gambling world, but Better Collective really finished strong revenue-wise at the end of 2020. And for the first quarter of this year, the revenue figures are very strong. I think they grew in the first quarter by 86% from this time last year. How did Better Collective and the gambling sports betting industry weather the pandemic, and did they do better than they thought they would do when the pandemic started?
It's been a wild ride over the last 14 months or so. I guess we're speaking here in mid-May. The pandemic really started heating up in mid-March last year. So it's been about 14 months. Better Collective stock was sitting over a little over 100. It's in Swedish kroner, so it's about 100 kroners, about $11 US. It was sitting around there, went all the way down to about 45 Swedish kroner, and then now it's sitting at about 240 as of the time of this call, and so it's gone up almost, I guess, more than 5x since its low point, and it's been a very wild ride in the stock. I think just like the stock market in general in the U.S., when we saw the Dow Jones go down to below 20,000 before now being up in the mid 30s somewhere, just stocks took a big tumble when the pandemic began, and Better Collective wasn't immune to that. But business-wise, I think the plan was always solid. The guys that run the company have always had their eye on the future. They think long-term, and they try to stay calm at the fluctuations that life brings. The pandemic was obviously a big hurdle for businesses all around the world, and in a business that depends on live sporting events actually happening, when sports completely grind to a halt for several months, it's very, very tough on the business. And I think short term, in the middle of all that, revenue took a massive hit. It went down by, a massive chunk of what was expected. And there had to be some plans made for the interim. Here in the U.S., we were fortunate. Our company was a recipient of a PPP loan, which helped us not have to do any cutting of staff or anything like that. It was a good program for us that helped us maintain everyone. And then when sports came back, we were able to really pick things back up. But once sports did start again in July of last year, I guess it was June, and then July kind of was when it really started picking up. And especially once NFL made clear that they were going to have their full season and was able to do it, our business was really well prepared to take back off, and we had our best season ever in the fall of last year. Better Collective internationally had a great great final quarter of last year and great first quarter of this year. And I think people spent a lot of the time in that early pandemic while stuck at home. Those who could worked really hard on preparing for the coming seasons. It was kind of a mixed bag for me and people like me that have kids that, had to juggle having our kids at home all the time with work. But we all managed to, I think, do a pretty good job and come out on the other side looking pretty good with just the prep that we did in that downtime and the way things picked back up once sports came back.
I want to get to the big deal that made news all over the world, and that is Better Collective's acquisition of the Action Network. I'm always curious how these business deals get initiated. I'm reading a book right now about the acquisition of Caesars, and that business deal started with a friendly conversation. How did discussions about acquiring Action Network get started? Because for me, it seemed to come out of the blue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not the best person to ask. I wasn't involved in that part directly, but I know how they got started for acquiring us, and you're right that it is in some ways, I think, usually a kind of casual conversation for these things. I've been involved in a couple of acquisitions. I've been involved in buying a couple of companies, and I've been involved in selling a couple of companies. And I can tell you that it doesn't start off with, well, at least most of the time, it doesn't start off with somebody flying in 10 business executives to your office and, having a big bow tie meeting with all of them. That would just seem a little over the top to me. It's usually more like, at least the experiences I've had, the first conversation has almost always been at a conference, like something like G2E or ICE in London, or the couple of the conference in New York or New Jersey that they have for sports betting. And I think that the first time that we met with Better Collective was in Amsterdam about a year before we finalized that acquisition. It was just I think there was a dinner and a little bit of chat and kind of get to know you type of session. I've had those kinds of meetings, breakfasts or dinners at conferences with companies that didn't end up acquiring us or that we didn't end up acquiring as well. And those kinds of casual chats. And yeah, the way it usually goes down is you get together because someone's got an interest in meeting you, or you've got an interest in meeting them, and you find a way to catch up, and maybe it's just for coffee or a meal, but you talk, you get to know each other a bit. And I think that helps, especially in the case of a buyer, but also in the case of a seller. It helps the party get to understand if this is a company that they want to do business with, especially when you're selling something for as much money as Action Network just sold for, which was about $250 million or almost $250 million. It's such a huge life-altering event for the stakeholders and really for everybody involved, down to the lower level, kind of entry level type people in the company. It's a big event for everyone because they're going to have a new employer. Their lives are going to change a lot over time. And it's very important to everyone who has built that business up to the point where it's worth that much that they get this right. And so, yeah, before you start doing due diligence and getting lawyers involved, sometimes it's just nice to sit down and get a feeling for, is this someone that I want to even consider getting married to, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's like a first date. It's a very good analogy as the first date thing, long before the marriage proposal. So I would say that, in the case of an Action Network, while I wasn't party to those early discussions, Better Collective is really good about always being connected with everyone in the industry and putting lots of flyers out and communicating with people. And I'm sure that it started out with fairly casual talks. And the part I'm interested in that I'm not privy to, but I'd be really interested to know about is how it all went down, given that nobody has been traveling. I think Better Collective's had a pretty much full-on halt on business travel, and their top executives are pretty much all based in Denmark, meaning, if Action Network was all in the U.S., I'm pretty much assuming that there were no in-person meetings. I don't know that for sure, but I'm kind of assuming that, and that definitely that had to make things more challenging because I know in our case, I was out in Denmark I think it was about 2 months before we got the deal done with my partners, and they also came to Nashville a couple of times, and we had a whole bunch of calls as well. But there was, I think they put a lot of priority in coming and seeing our office and seeing what our operation was like and getting to know some of us in person. And I guess in this case, they just had to do it differently.
I got to tell you, the Action Network is such a great site. And truth be known, I have the app on my phone right now because it helps me keep track of all the bets I make during the day. But why do you think it was so attractive for Better Collective as a property? And why do you think the Action Network would be a valuable property to acquire?
Well, I think it's an incredibly valuable property, and I think it's just starting to scratch the surface of its potential because they're really just starting to amp up their affiliate marketing side. They've been doing really well with products and subscription products for quite a while, but they're starting to really realize their potential on the other side as well. And I think that revenue-wise, it's clearly a good bet for them. But the other thing that I really like about it is you put it in contrast with some properties that some other companies have acquired that are more like the kind of properties that do well in search engines and thereby are able to send a lot of players and make money, but their websites are products that aren't very well known generally. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that those kinds of websites are very dependent on Google to be able to make money. And even if they're run by very intelligent people who are very good at search engine optimization, they're subject to the whims of this one company, basically Google, to continue having their success and generating revenue on the way that they are. And single events, big changes in Google's algorithm, penalties, things like that, can cost the value of those websites millions of dollars. Whereas something like Action Network that has such a strong PR arm and strong product arm and is so well known publicly and employs famous sports journalists and just has so much reach already, even after only operating for a couple of years, something like that is a much better long-term bet. And it's why I think that it's better to spend $250 million on that than it is to spend $20 or $30 million on a strong revenue-generating website that doesn't have much reach and is just mostly, a product of search engine optimization. So, and we do that search engine optimization too. We do that kind of stuff as well. But I think that these products that are really well known and that can become something that the public is familiar with and uses are so much more valuable over time. This acquisition showed to me that Better Collective is still thinking about 3 to 5 years down the road and not just today, because sports betting is going to keep growing in the U.S. There are still only about 10 or so states that have statewide mobile sports betting, and that number is going to grow. It's going to be in many states around the country 5 years from now, including big states. I think that states like Ohio and New York and Florida are already showing signs that it's going to happen pretty soon in some form or another. And eventually Texas and California will figure it out. And most of the bigger states in the country are going to have this product eventually. And if you get ahead and make these acquisitions, even if they sound expensive today, you can be really sitting on a bargain in the future when you keep building these products up better, and eventually you have bigger markets to promote to.
Now, this was Better Collective's biggest acquisition in the U.S. market. How will the Action Network fit in with the other properties that Better Collective has within the United States?
Yeah, it's the biggest acquisition ever by quite a bit. So, it was a big deal for them. I would say that as of now, at least based on what I've been told, it's going to be run completely separately from the rest of the U.S. stuff. They're going to maintain their own organizational structure and their own offices and their own staff and not heavily intermingle with the rest of the company for now. That doesn't mean that we won't find synergies and work together. I've already had calls with people at Action and expect to have more of them. And we're going to find ways to help each other and make each other better. But they're not fully integrating operationally into the rest of Better Collective as of now.
For people like me who have Action Network app on their phone or subscribers to the Action Network, what can they expect in the coming months with regard to the Action Network? I mean, I get on to check my bets. Will there be a video of you telling me my Phillies game is losing? Because if that happens, I want to know in advance.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not completely in tune with their product roadmap or anything like that. But what I will say is that from everything I've heard, I wouldn't expect anything to change in a big way on Action Network from how it's been based on this acquisition. I would expect things to continue rolling out the way they have been, understanding that it's the same management staff in charge that's always been there, or that's been there at least, going into this deal, and that whatever plans that they've had for their business and for their products are going to continue as such. And over time, definitely, I think, they'll be getting advice from others within the organization on how to keep improving things. But for the most part, it's going to be, Patrick Keane is the CEO of Action, and it still is going to be going forward. And I would expect everything mostly to be coming from him and the team that he's built there.
According to sources quoted in the Wall Street Journal, there was a competitive auction for the Action Network. And according to those sources, two of the companies who were involved in the bidding were DraftKings and FanDuel. I know a lot of media companies are doing deals with sportsbook operators. Do you think that's in the plans for Better Collective in the future? To
do deals directly with operators, you mean?
Yeah. Do you think that's, you never say never, but do you think Better Collective, that's in the plans for Better Collective later on? Or are there pros and cons to something like that?
It's an interesting thought. I've thought about this as well. I first of all, just backing up for a second, I thought it was pretty remarkable that Better Collective was the winner of this, this auction, so to speak, just because FanDuel and DraftKings, and especially DraftKings, they're so aggressive with their spending that you would think that they would be able to pay a higher premium on something like, we know that they bought Visson already, right, for $100 million, which, as far as I know, was in a much more precarious revenue and cash position than the Action Network. I'm not completely sure about all the details of that, but my understanding was that they were in a much more precarious position, and so it's very very interesting to me that Better Collective came away with this one when we know that some of these operators, and particularly DraftKings, were at least interested. I'm not sure how far along they got in those talks, but obviously, Action was going to go to, I guess, the combination of whoever offered the most money and the most attractive situation going forward. And they ended up deciding it was Better Collective. Good for us.
Yeah, great.
So I as far as Better Collective combining with an operator, there's a couple things about that. There are a couple things about that would make it very tricky.
Yeah.
One is there's no operator, as far as I know, that is the main operator all around the world. One of Better Collective's very biggest partners, for example, if not biggest internationally, is Bet365, which is in New Jersey and in a couple other markets in the U.S., but is nowhere near one of the dominant players in the United States so far at this point. They are, on the other hand, of course, a very dominant player in several other markets around the world, including the UK and much of Europe and, I believe, Asia. So it's kind of a tricky proposition to think of Better Collective, which is a company worth more than $1 billion going and getting acquired by a specific operator, or doing a kind of like exclusive partnership with one when it's got so many different properties that serve so many different markets. So my general thinking is that's not going to happen. Better Collective is a public company. They're going to continue focusing on trying to be independent and grow and improve upon what they are, grow their share value, and so on. And that's what I would expect over time, is that they try to just be a continually growing company, taking advantage of new market opportunities in growing areas like the U.S. and potentially Canada if they legalize sports betting, as there's talk of them doing it. and other growth opportunities around the world, and not focus on getting acquired or partnering exclusively with anybody.
When it comes to affiliate marketing, revenue sharing deals, CPA deals, what do deals like this mean for the sports betting industry? I mean, will we start seeing a change in the way companies in the sports betting business conduct business differently?
It's a good question. I'm really interested in this topic because it affects a lot about what I do day to day and our own prospects in business. And I definitely do worry that too much industry consolidation is probably not the best thing certainly for us, but also for customers, for operators, for everybody. When a few companies do get too big, it becomes problematic for pretty much everyone else. And so I do worry about it, particularly on the operator side. I think we're not at that point with affiliates yet where newer affiliates are blocked out. It's easier. The barrier to entry to become an affiliate is much lower than the barrier to entry to become an operator. But I worry particularly about too much operator consolidation. The thing with Flutter, which is the parent company of FanDuel and Betfair, and now PokerStars and CrownBet and SkyBet and pretty much any other sports betting brand you can name. I mean, I feel like they own everything. But when they merged with the Stars Group, which owns PokerStars and FoxBet and SkyBet and a bunch of other stuff, and basically, I think they were already maybe two of the three biggest sports betting and casino companies in the world. That one really concerned me. So far, they haven't really combined their operations yet, but I'm sure it's coming over time. And they've just got such a heavy footprint in horse racing with TVG and with retail sports betting in Europe with Betfair and some of those brands, with online sports betting in the U.S. with FanDuel and FoxBet, with PokerStars being the biggest in the world, with media, with the whole SkyBet thing. They're so heavy in everything all around the world that it feels like one of these conglomerates that's going to be bad for everyone else in their ecosystem at some point. And, we haven't felt the effects of that yet, at least noticeably. We have a really strong partnership with a bunch of their brands, but also with other competing brands like DraftKings and BetMGM and Rush Street and many others. But I do worry that just all this consolidation over time can only be a bad thing. On the other hand, it does encourage new people to come into the market in some ways, because if you don't believe you can ever be number one or top three in a market, the incentives to join are somewhat minimal unless you believe you can be acquired by one of the bigger players eventually. Well, on the operator side, I'm saying specifically because it's hard to become profitable anytime soon. When you join, you're shedding cash early on, and the prospect of getting acquired for hundreds of millions or billions of dollars is an attractive incentive to create a new business, and I think that's good for everyone. But yeah, I do worry eventually that these guys are just going to get so big that they're not going to need anybody else and just kind of run roughshod over everybody.
Well, let me ask you about the marketing aspect of it. I mean, recently I've been reading reports from Nielsen on the amount of sports betting industry is putting into television commercials in local markets. I think one of the stats was sports betting commercial ad buys is now one of the biggest ad categories in the country. I think Nielsen reported it as 11th top market or something like that. When it comes to advertising like that, do you think Better Collective or the Action Network or any of the sports betting media companies will start going that route in the future of like traditional television advertising? Or do you think they've been successful and right now they should keep marketing the way they've been marketing themselves?
Well, I think that there are going to be some issues eventually with all this, because you're right that the ads they can be out of control. And we saw what happened with daily fantasy 5 or 6 years ago when DraftKings and FanDuel both spent at least 1 week during the NFL season as the number one advertising brand in the entire U.S. Like, when DraftKings or FanDuel is spending more than Coke and Chevrolet Nike and whatever, that they're going to be getting a lot of attention for doing so, and with attention comes scrutiny, and with scrutiny, you got to make sure that your business is really tight. And I'm just not sure that everyone is quite to that point yet in these markets. I think they're trying to be, but the U.S. market, they're still very new, and there's a lot of focus on land grab and acquisition, and I think that has primacy above things like being careful about problem gambling, or making sure that you're basically perfect in a lot of ways that they need to do. We had an article on Sports Handle, one of our sites, just the other day, about how sportsbook advertising has become the top category for radio stations in New Jersey and elsewhere. I'm not sure if you saw that article, but it was very interesting by Jeff Edelstein. It came out on May 13th on Sports Handle. I highly recommend it for more reading on this topic. But I think that we will reach this point of saturation. It might have already been reached in some places. I heard from David Purdom from ESPN tweeted out the other day that his fishing guide, he was out in Colorado on vacation, and his fishing guide was complaining about how the sports betting ads are just nonstop and he can't take it anymore. And I've heard this from other people. I live in Georgia, so I don't experience this. We have basically no sports betting ads here.
I'm sitting here in New Jersey, and it's constant. I see online poker commercials, believe it or not.
And you haven't, I mean, it's not like it's new there either. You've had online sports betting for 3 years, and you've had online casinos and poker for 8 years now in New Jersey. So, I mean, if you're still experiencing that up there, then it's not just places like Colorado that have fairly new markets. So I am concerned that eventually people get annoyed and start complaining, or that it attracts too much government scrutiny. And I do think that the operators will respond well to this, but what I worry about is something like what happened with Daily Fantasy. It wouldn't be the same kind of issue. What happened with Daily Fantasy is we had this broadly unregulated product that I think the big operators at the time were really doing a good job of running like strong, careful products and doing a decent job with game security and all that, but it wasn't their top priority the way it would be if there were huge legal consequences or the possibility of losing their license if they were non-compliant. And so, of course, like I just said before, marketing kind of was primary above everything else. And they got themselves into hot water by attracting too much attention to themselves and not being prepared for a scandal, which eventually broke out when, in some ways it was a silly scandal, but it was an employee of one of the operators won a big tournament on another operator, and there were sort of some suspicions of impropriety. I think that what actually happened was pretty innocuous, but it didn't look that way to the public, and it didn't look that way when the New York Times was writing it up and so on. And they weren't prepared to deal with that. And they were fortunate they were able to get a strong lobbying effort and get regulations in a bunch of states and survive as businesses. We see FanDuel and DraftKings doing great today, but it might not have turned out so well. And I think with sports betting now, it's not going to be something like that because they are regulated products. It's not going to be that nobody's trying to be compliant. But where's the regulation, for example, on problem gambling? How far are we going in all of these different various states that are each basically like individual countries to make sure that we don't go overboard with the advertising side while ignoring the potential damage? And we've seen already with the gambling industry in the U.S. how this can play out poorly. State of Illinois is a good example with their video gaming terminals, VGTs. There have been massive, massive problems because they've allowed them to go largely unchecked. They're sitting around in a bunch of rural parts of the state in these, just gas stations and truck stops and whatever. And a lot of people have lost a lot of money on these things. And it's largely, created a lot of negative perceptions about gambling in the state. And it has caused a lot of problems there. And we could see that happen in more places around the country if the operators don't get ahead of these issues. So, yeah, I do worry, if we just only spend money on marketing because that's what we're incentivized to do. Because if we don't do it, someone else will, and we'll just lose the market. If that's the primary focus for everybody, we're going to run into problems eventually.
You know, when people hear about deals like the Better Collective Action Network deal, they get excited about sports betting, and they get to thinking, what's next for the industry? Where do you see the sports betting industry going in 2021?
I think that we'll see more states. I think we'll always just keep seeing more states. For now, we're still in that period. It definitely feels like a bit slower year compared to last year, where we had, Tennessee, and then at the beginning of this year, Michigan, Virginia, several big states, Colorado, Indiana last year. It really happened, a lot of stuff at once to grow the space. And I think it's not going to be quite that fast, but we will continue to see more markets try to find their approach. I think something that's interesting that has been pointed out by a few people on Twitter and elsewhere recently is that we see more of these states, particularly with, as someone put it, a strong governor or strong executive, trying to do a little bit more to make the markets a little less competitive, which is not great for marketers such as myself and not great for consumers either. But it's governors looking at this, or state legislative bodies looking at this more as really a simple problem of how to get the state the most revenue. The same way that they look at something like a lottery, where it's not focused on allowing businesses to grow or job creation or creating a strong market. It's not really focused on any of those things. It's really just focused solely on one thing, which is how to get the most revenue for the state. That's the approach that we've seen New York pretty strongly advocate to date. It seems to be the approach that's happening down in Florida as well. And I think it's got to concern some people in the industry if more of the biggest states take this approach rather than the approach that we've seen in states like New Jersey and Michigan that are a little bit more just market oriented and competitive and focused on job and industry growth. What you're seeing in New York and Florida, the two biggest states that have really tackled this topic at all so far, is much more of a how can we just maximize that state revenue? How can we get 50% of everything comes in going to the state? So I think that is a trend for everyone to be wary of and to be aware of, that it might be going this way, that there are a couple small states that have done it, that have done this kind of more lottery-focused approach, Oregon, New Hampshire. But if it becomes the trend, if all the biggest states going forward go this route, it would be troubling for the prospects of the industry.
Adam, we're running out of time, and this is usually the time when I tell you to give out a website to keep people up to date about what's going on. But Better Collective has so many great websites under their umbrella. Give us some great Better Collective websites people should check out.
Well, I always got to pump sports handle. Absolutely. And US Bets. Those are the sites that I'm very directly involved in that cover industry news so closely. Sports handle, particularly on the legislative and regulatory side, just covering everything that's going on state by state around the U.S. And then US Bets, telling stories about gambling and both casino sports, also poker, all around the U.S. These are great websites, great resources nationally, wherever you are, to follow what's going on in the States. And then, of course, Roto Grinders, if you're interested in fantasy, come over and check us out. We've got subscription products that can really help everybody on the fantasy sports side. So we'd love to have your traffic anywhere and come in and visit and see what you like.
Adam Small from Better Collective and USBets.com. Thanks so much for coming on and telling us all about the incredible Better Collective Action Network deal. Congratulations to you and everyone at Better Collective, and I can't wait to see what's in store for them next. Please come back on soon and keep us updated.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
No matter what kind of car you drive, we have an insurance policy that's right for you. Need to insure your family minivan? We've got you covered. Need insurance for that new sports car you finally got? We've got you covered. Have an old beater that just won't quit? We've got you covered. Or maybe you hit the lottery and want to insure all your new cars. We've got you covered. Call Auto Insurance for Less to find out how much you can save right now. All it takes is just one call. Answer a few questions, and before you know it, we've got you covered. Call 1-800-679-0366. That's 1-800-679-0366. Auto Insurance. You want it, you need it, and we've got it. Call Auto Insurance for Less to find out how much you can save today. Better coverage at a better price is just a phone call away. Call 1-800-679-0366. That's 1-800-679-0366.
With some of the best promotions and offers in the sports betting market, PointsBet simply stands out. PointsBet is the only U.S. online bookmaker to offer points betting, where every yard, every point, every goal, even every play matters. Same-game parlays, good karma payouts, early payouts, and exclusive game day promotions and guarantees for all sports. PointsBet offers more bet types than any other bookmaker in the world, offering a unique set of markets that aren't available anywhere else. And now PointsBet is offering one of the best sign-up offers in the sports betting market today. New customers signing up with code BET21 receive 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Get up to $500 back if your first fixed odds bet loses, and up to $1,500 if your first points betting bet loses. That's code BET21 for 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000 at PointsBet. PointsBet. It pays to be fast. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We'll get right back to the show, but I want to take a minute to talk to you about Bean Genius. How would you like your coffee delivered right to your door every month, maybe 2 times a month? Well, now that can happen with Bean Genius. Bean Genius sells freshly roasted coffee from some of the best independent coffee roasters in the country at beangenius.com. And Bean Genius actually learns their customers' individual taste preferences, then suggests future coffee blends for them. Well, how do they do that? Well, this is the cool thing about Bean Genius. Over at beangenius.com, they use an algorithm which learns the coffee flavors you like and then pairs up what you like with the coffee that they have in stock. And it's all based upon you. Every time you order, the system learns. The system learns your preferences as you go along and order more and more coffee. And now, all our listeners at Turnpike Sports can get a special offer. You head on over to beangenius.com/subscription, and you'll be able to get 10% off your purchase when you use our promo code PIKE, P-I-K-E, at checkout. That's 10% off at beangenius.com/subscription with promo code PIKE, P-I-K-E. beangenius.com, the smart specialty coffee subscription service.
And By the Numbers is sponsored by Play Sugar House Online Casino and Sportsbook in New Jersey. Sign up at playsugarhouse.com/Pike and get a first deposit match of up to $250. Enjoy the casino experience online. Play Sugar House offers over 400 games online, slots, table games, hey, even bingo. It's like being in a casino without leaving your home. That's playsugarhouse.com/Pike to get your first deposit match of up to $250 today. Must be 21 years or older and physically present in New Jersey. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 800gambler.org.
And welcome to another edition of the Turnpike Sports By the Numbers segment, where we let the numbers tell the story. I throw a number out, and Dave and I talk about it after Dave tries to take a stab at guessing at what the hell I'm talking about.
After Dave gets it wrong.
That's that too. But again, we're going to have a couple numbers this week. We'll start off with 43,000.
No clue. I'm not even wasting your time. No clue what this means.
That is the added subscribers that Fubo TV had in the first quarter of 2021.
You know, I'm seeing commercials for Fubo TV.
Fubo
TV. What was Fubo?
Fubo is the clothing brand.
Okay. Fubo TV. Fubo TV. I'm seeing commercials for Fubo TV on actual real TV.
Well, they're up.
I should just call it real TV.
They're up to 590,000 subscribers after this first quarter increase of 43,000.
Wow.
That's up 105% from last year at this time. So they're growing. And they expect to finish with 830 to 850,000 subscribers by the end of 2021. Now, why did I throw this number out at you? Got to remember, Fubo is launching its own sports book.
Yep, I know that.
And their subscriber base is going to be huge by the time they launch it. They're talking about possibly 3 states by the end of the year, from what I understand, in the earnings call they just had.
Mm-hmm.
So they are going to be looking at having a customer base of 850,000 that could possibly be sports betting customers as well.
That's great. No, that's a good running start for Fubo sports betting.
They already stream NBA basketball and NCAA college football. So that's going to be interesting with the college football in terms of where certain states don't allow you to bet.
Yeah.
They're going to probably have to have some kind of software in there where you aren't able to do it, because they're supposed to be having it integrated into the stream where you're going to be able to bet. You know, like what Unibet did with their
sure.
watch and bet stream?
Yeah.
Something like that they've been talking about doing. They also just did a deal for the World Cup 2022 qualifying matches of the South American Football Confederation. They are the exclusive streaming entity for them.
Great.
So that's soccer betting. So you're going to see a lot of stuff. And also they have a deal with the Marquee Sports Network, which is owned by the Chicago Cubs.
Okay.
So the Chicago Cubs fans can watch the games on Fubo.
I got to tell you, my head is starting to spin with all the streaming networks that are out there. It's one of those things. There's a new one every week, and you're trying to figure out which one is good for you, because you can't get them all.
No.
Let's be honest. You're not going to get every streaming network out there.
Well, the Chicago Cubs the Chicago Cubs Sinclair Broadcast Network, the Marquee Network, that's interesting because that was the one that was kept out of the Bally Sports sale.
Which, by the way, just flipped over on my Roku TV. Right. I had Fox Sports Go, and all by itself is switched over to Bally Sports. Is that what it's called, Bally Sports?
Bally Sports is the name of the network. Yep.
Yeah, no. So, but it looks like it's really great stuff. I mean, it has free stuff on it, but I guess if you pay for it, you get some extras, and I guess you get the baseball games.
Especially if you got a regional network. Yeah,
the regional markets. So.
But again, you're also going to have the Bally app pretty soon, the Bally Bet. So that's going to be interesting to see exactly where the Bally Bet.
That's what it's going to be called, Bally Bet?
Bally Bet.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see exactly what happens. But like I said, the Marquee Sports Network for the Chicago Cubs regional sports network was not included with the Bally's deals. They weren't rebranded as Bally Sports.
Okay.
Next number, 2.
I heard, I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but I heard the NFL is going to be playing 2 games in London.
After not having any games last year,
they're
having 2 games
in
London.
All right.
It's the Atlanta Falcons hosting the New York Jets on October 10th, and the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Miami Dolphins on October 17th.
Well, Jacksonville Jaguars, that makes sense because their owner is from London. He lives in London.
It'll also be their 8th game in London.
Well, I think if a team ever moved to London, it'd be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, they're playing the Dolphins, who are also making their 5th appearance in London.
Okay.
So the 2 Miami teams are the most popular, or the most
2 Florida teams.
The two Florida teams, sorry, are the teams that have visited London the most. Which is kind of interesting that both those teams have done that, and just the 2 Florida teams.
How often have the Jets done it?
I've seen the Jets one other time.
Yeah, I remember the
Jets played the
London.
Rams or something, or something like that, some kind of odd combination.
I actually remember watching it in the car. I wasn't driving, by the way. I was watching it on my phone because, when you have a London game, it's early in the morning. So, no, I was a passenger in the car, and I was watching it in the morning. I think it was a Sunday morning.
And these 2 games will be the 29th and 30th NFL games since 2007 held in London, where you can actually bet on the games at the games.
Now, will they have?
Think about that one. You still can't do that in the United States.
You're moving closer and closer to that. But I'm curious to see if they'll have a full stadium at that time. In October.
They're anticipating 100% there, too. So we'll see. We'll see.
I hope so.
Next number, $1.3 billion.
No clue. Is it money?
It's money.
It's money.
That is the amount the world's leading sports leagues could stand to generate from their online inventory across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter in 2021.
So what are the world's leading sports leagues?
Well,
NFL,
according to the study that was released,
okay.
the Premier League is has the most valuable digital inventory. $432 million worth.
Yeah,
that's what they're going to be standing to make digitally.
They have a global viewership that is amazing. I mean, it puts the NFL to shame. The NFL does very well, but not like the Premier League.
Well, the NFL did not do well in this list.
Okay, well.
And also, I was surprised at this one. That number, the $432 million, is almost as much as the La Liga digital assets value for 2021, $256 million, and the NBA.
Wow, okay.
NBA is only valued at $172 million for their entire 2021 digital asset inventory. Football was fourth. Online assets are only $132 million for this year. That's going to change soon.
Oh, yeah, it's certainly going to change.
And Serie A, the Italian soccer league, $121 million value.
Okay.
And one note on this, TikTok was not included in this study. So whatever these leagues have on TikTok, it was not counted.
Is anything on TikTok?
Yes.
Wow, really?
A lot of leagues are making deals with TikTok.
I'm hearing a lot of TikTok. You know, I thought that was for teenagers dancing.
Well, UFC
making a video. And stuff
the
like
UFC
that,
has a TikTok deal.
Yeah.
And
they have
do
ghost
very
videos
well.
on TikTok? I think I've seen ghost videos on TikTok.
They have all that, but a lot of the sports league, UFC is doing it. As a matter of fact, UFC has some stuff where the fighters do a TikTok.
Okay.
So, TikTok will be an interesting digital asset down the road here. Like I said, they didn't count it here. Don't know what it is right now, but it's got to be a revenue generating stream for a lot of these leagues at some point. Last number, 0.
0. Not sure.
This one, let me throw this out here. It's going to be a little, I got to get to it and unravel a little bit here. Mets backup catcher, third-string catcher.
Okay. By the way, everyone, this guy is now a folk hero in the New York metropolitan area.
He's also a statistical hero. I keep mispronouncing this guy's name.
Mazeika.
Patrick Mazeika. Did not have a hit. That's where the 0 comes in his first 4 major league games. But he had 3 RBIs.
Yeah.
Mazeika became the first player since 1920 to record 2 walk-off RBIs in his first 4 career games. These are all walk-offs that he had, these first couple of RBIs.
Yeah.
He's also the first player in the last 100 years with multiple walk-off RBI before recording his first career hit.
You know, I wonder if it is like certainly he had to. He did something very, very good up at bat, which means like he didn't swing at stupid pitches. He was patient, and I think he got hit by one.
He hit into a fielder's choice.
He hit into a fielder's choice,
and he did a swinging bunt.
Yeah.
And also he had a bases-loaded walk.
And he walked.
Yes.
I mean, he had to know. Yeah, he put it in play, number one, and he had, for the walk, he had to know which pitches not to swing at. So it's not like it was a right place, right time kind of thing. He kind of, did what he had to do, and good for him.
Here's his last stat. He's also the first player since 1955, Joe Brovia of the Reds, with 3 RBI before picking up a hit.
Wow.
So 1955 between times when this happened, which is what? That's 70 years, give or take.
Yeah.
And during his time before he got his first hit, the Mets had won 6 in a row.
Yeah.
So he added to his legacy by giving the Mets a win streak during that period too.
No, like I said, he was a big story for a couple of days in the New York radio and New York sports market.
And that's it for the By the Numbers.
Stick around. When we come back, we'll do the Turnpike Sports book report. So stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private health care is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready. And health insurance is your financial safety net. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, give us a call at 800-231-9279. That's 800-231-9279. 800-231-9279.
More bets, better odds at PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up today at PlaySugarHouse.com and don't forget to use our promo code PIKE to take advantage of their first deposit match up to $250. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. The Turnpike Sports Book Report.
The Turnpike Sports Book Report is brought to you by BorgataSports.com. Your favorite casino is now your favorite sports book. Available anywhere in New Jersey, BorgataSports.com. Sign up at BorgataSports.com using our promo code PIKE, that's P-I-K-E. Make your first wager of $20 or more and you'll get $100 in free bets. That's $100 in free bets when your first wager on Borgata Sports is $20 or more. Get into the action with BorgataSports.com. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay, in this week's episode of the book report, we've got our state and national reports to go through. We even have a record to talk about. We have some legislation, tweaks, launches, whatever you want to call them. We also have launches and deals to talk about. Let's start with some of the numbers. Illinois released their March sports betting numbers. Again, we're in May here. They just released March.
They released March. Okay.
They are always about a
month behind, huh?
I would say somewhere between 30 and 60 days behind.
So if it's
else.
March, this one should be a big one.
It is a big one.
Okay.
And as I mentioned at the beginning, we had a record to talk about. We are going to be talking about the record handle of $633.61 million in the month of March for Illinois.
And I would guess that's all basketball, mostly basketball, I would think.
Basketball made up more than half of the total handle for the month.
Okay, yeah.
$365.7 million. The handle is up 24% from February. Mobile sports betting handle, 96% of the total handle. Almost 100%. Now,
it's getting like New Jersey. New Jersey's that kind of a number.
Unfortunately, Illinois may not see that number too much often right now because they're going back to the in-person registration for mobile sports betting.
Okay. All
so right. You'll see a drop-off anyway. April's going to be a drop-off anyway. There's really the March Madness in
the thing
March,
is,
and
March
then February
is
was Super Bowl.
March is usually so good that you can't help have a letdown in April. I don't even know if you should call it a letdown. Just there's really not a lot of things to bet on in April.
Honestly, April is a month where I think it's one of the months of the calendar year the state sports betting industries show how strong they really are.
Yeah.
Because if there's no major events and they do a damn good handle, they actually have a good industry going. I mean, if they drop down like a stone, there's something else going on in that state.
I would like to see if April is a big month for futures. You know, you got baseball starting. I wonder if a lot of bets are placed on the futures. A lot of people put futures on the NFL in April.
Well, if you think about it, you have the draft.
Odds.
You have the draft, which also affects the futures for the NFL. But
that's
also,
what I'm saying.
I think May here also is an interesting month because you have the schedule released for the NFL with the odds associated with it.
Yeah, that's May, right?
That's what I'm saying, in May here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but April is the draft. And also,
the start of baseball, the futures. Yeah. I don't know if there's been any study on that or anything like that, but I'm curious to see if April is a big month for future betting.
Well, baseball, and you also have the awards too. MVPs, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So, and also auto racing starts up too in April. So that's also a lot of betting going on. Top 5 sports. Basketball, we just talked about.
This is Illinois.
This is Illinois still. Tennis, $47.2 million. Hockey, $32.8 million. This is all sports betting by handle. Soccer, $29.1 million. And golf, $10.5 million. No table tennis.
Oh. good.
Yeah.
That's for Colorado and Washington State, or is that Oregon?
That's Oregon, Colorado, and I think even New Hampshire had some table tennis numbers.
Oh, table tennis action in New Hampshire, huh? All right.
Yeah. Let's see. Revenue, $44.32 million, second all-time. Taxes, $7 million, and win rate of about just under 7%. So they did pretty good there. Let's go over into some of the April numbers. We have New Jersey, Indiana, Delaware, New Hampshire, Colorado, Tennessee, Michigan, all reporting their numbers. New Jersey.
And this is April, right?
This is all April.
So we're not going to see the enormous numbers that we saw in March.
I hate to say this.
We're seeing good numbers, not great numbers.
I hate to say this.
March.
When you look at New Jersey, you always see a monster number. Regardless, it's not going to be record numbers, but they're monster numbers anyway.
It's population density. We have a lot of people,
and also we have still we still have the New York influence.
Sure. And, well, New Jersey, the most interesting stat about New Jersey, if you're in radio, if you're in advertising, and if you're in sports betting, New Jersey has more people per square mile than any other state in the union. So, a 5,000 watt radio station will reach more people in New Jersey than it will in Nevada. So, but because there's more people.
You just picked a state that's all desert.
Well,
course, yes.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to tie it in with sports betting. So there's more people per square mile in New Jersey than any other state. That's why these numbers are big in New Jersey.
Well, here, I'll set the stage here. The record handle for New Jersey happened in at the end of December 2020. Record handle $996.3 million. They just missed $1 billion in handle. April sports betting handle was $748 million, and there was nothing going on there.
And they're saying that's a letdown.
That's a letdown. Well, you get used to it.
Compared to March, tell us what March's number was.
March was $859.6 million.
That was pretty big.
February was $743. January was $958.7. But you got to remember, January is affected by the Super Bowl.
Sure.
That's all.
I would think
Super
there's
Bowl
more betting in the Super Bowl in January because the Super Bowl is February 3rd. You only got 3 days of betting on the Super Bowl in February, but you have a whole month in January.
And you also got to look at.
And you got the playoff games.
The playoff games are rabid sports fans right there for them.
Speaking of playoffs, the hockey playoffs have started, and basketball starting up. I'm very, very interested in the the betting lines coming up.
Well, online handle New Jersey. Like I just said, the total handle was $748 million. The online handle was $681.177 million.
Okay,
91% of the overall handle. Still showing the mobile betting is the way to go for states who don't have legislation in place, don't have an industry launched yet. Mobile, you have to have.
Mobile is so important to a state. There's nothing like betting laying on your couch. You're there, your phone's there, you throw a bet in when you're watching a game, and you know what that means? It means tax dollars for the state.
Well, you know what's better than betting from your couch? Being able to sign up from your couch.
Yeah, well,
that's another thing where Indiana, Nevada, Illinois, and Nevada, you got to listen. You may want to drop that in-person registration. I hit on that before, but okay. Online. Okay, gross revenue $54.8 million for the month.
This is Jersey again.
This is still Jersey. Year-to-date gross revenue $244.2 million. Year-to-date handle $3.31 billion.
Billion
with a B. Wow. Online handle year-to-date $3.04 billion. When New Jersey released their reports, they had the year-to-date top sports by handle. Basketball, $1.26 billion.
Mm-hmm.
The other category, which is it's a catch-all thing for like a lot of other different sports that are out there. They had $843 million. Parlays accounted for $735 million of the overall handle year to date. Football, $275 million so far.
And
year to date.
And let me tell you something. In New Jersey, I think those numbers will be going higher if what I'm hearing happens, and that's with regard to the college and universities. I don't know if you're going to hit this at all, because I know that's been in the news. You're going to talk about the New Jersey college and university referendum.
We talked about that last week.
Okay, I didn't know if you were going to talk about it again this week. But
no,
just to refresh everyone's memory, in New Jersey, you are not allowed to bet on a college or university that is located in your state, the state of New Jersey, and also you cannot bet on a collegiate activity that occurs in the state of New Jersey, and it looks like that might be overturned. So, which I'm very curious to see how that affects the handle.
Well,
and
it'll go to a ballot. It'll go to a ballot.
Yeah.
So,
if it goes to a ballot, then it's going to be overturned.
Yeah. As far as individual properties, Resorts Digital led all casino sports betting revenue with almost $12 million for the month.
This is Jersey, right?
This is still Jersey.
All right.
Meadowlands led all racetrack sports betting revenue with $29.14 million for the month. Year to date, they brought in $134.4 million revenue. Mm-hmm. Taxes online generated $6.2 million. Retail about $590,000. Year to date so far, the industry's brought in about $30 million in taxes.
Great.
Over in Indiana, I reported April handle. We're in April. $236.4 million, about 88.4% was online. Revenue of approximately $20 million. Top sports, again, basketball, $76.1 million. Parlay second with $60.44 million. DraftKings was the top online operator for the state of Indiana in the month of April, $79.3 million. That was down from $111 million in March. Again, March Madness. FanDuel was second, $67.1 million. And on the retail side, the Hollywood Lawrenceburg Casino, which is the closest casino to Cincinnati, Ohio, led the retail market with $8.4 million handle.
Great.
In the month of April. New Hampshire, the lottery reported that the sports betting handle year to date has exceeded $500 million.
Wow, pretty good.
I'm not year to date launch of sports betting in the state.
Well, how? When did they launch? I don't even know.
December 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So as of last month, they had 52,000 players registered, and more than 12.5 million bets were placed so far in New Hampshire. And one little note for New Hampshire, they have been averaging $10.1 million in sports wagering handle per week.
Great.
Colorado reported that they have passed the $2 billion mark, if I remember correctly here.
I had that in the news, yeah.
Yes.
Aren't they like the fastest state to hit that?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Let's see. Gross gaming revenue for April, this is the unaudited handle, $245 million. Revenue, $18.3 million. Net revenue, $15 million. Let's see. Top sports for the first year in existence. Basketball, $435 million. Football, $383 million. NCAA basketball, they separated those two out. You know, the pro and NCAA.
That's interesting, yeah. Okay.
$193.889 million.
All right.
Baseball was fourth with $105 million, almost 106. And your favorite sport, table tennis.
Wow.
$91 million.
They love it in Colorado. Hey, good for them. You good rabid table tennis fans.
And Colorado ended its first year in operation with 20 online operators and 16 retail operations in the state.
Great.
Let's see. Going over to Tennessee. Tennessee reported an April handle of $172 million, making them, in the first 6 months, the quickest jurisdiction to reach the $1 billion milestone.
Oh, okay.
In the U.S.
Boy, Tennessee and Colorado are really growing.
Well, again, Tennessee is online only, and there's no in-person registration requirement. So,
well, there's no retail.
Well, you could set up something that could do you can have a gaming office set up for it, but it's all mobile and they are moving quick. And one side note regarding Tennessee, it looks like the Tennessee 24 Action. Tennessee Action 24/7 lawsuit is gone, done.
Good.
They're free and clear, moving ahead. On the national side, March handle now exceeds $4.6 billion for the month of March. That's a record.
Wow.
So a lot of good stuff going on in March and April. As always, Illinois kind of screws me up. I keep wanting to go March every time I start with them in March, the month before.
Sure. Yeah.
But April, March, good months. Recovery moving ahead pretty good according to the AGA. They released their numbers for the first quarter. shows a total gross gaming revenue of $11.1 billion this year.
And when you say AGA, it's the American Gaming Association.
American Gaming Association. That's the gross gaming revenue. That's all gaming, not just sports betting.
Okay.
Sports betting did account for $961.1 million nationally gross gaming revenue. That's combined that with online gaming. Those two combined for about 16% of the overall gaming pie for quarter one. Couple launches to talk about. We have SimpleBet. Their specialty is the micro markets.
Yeah. Okay.
They are now working with Gambit, or Intralot, I should say. Intralot, which runs Gambit, and also the Montana sports betting industry. Montana Sports and Washington, D.C. Gambit are now doing micro markets for MLB, Major League Baseball, and National Basketball Association games. That's a brand new thing for those two jurisdictions. Fubo TV announced in their earnings call that they will be launching the Vigtory online sportsbook in the final quarter of this year.
Vigtory. Is that what? Vigtory.
You know, like the Vig?
Okay. Yeah, I understand that.
So
Vigtory.
Indiana, Barstool Sports got their go live authorization May 18th, so they're live in Indiana. Also, Indiana, I think we talked last week, Tennessee allowed a local MMA outfit to be bet upon in the state.
Yeah.
Indiana now has the Legacy Fighting Alliance as an approved event for sports betting.
Great.
That's a minor league almost for the UFC and some of the other MMA things, Bellator, all those MMA things. This is almost a minor league for them.
I actually like it when state sports books allow betting on a state and local kind of activity. I think it's great. I think it's a great marketing tool, and I think it's great for, the state in that sport, get the local fans involved.
Well, the Legacy Fighting Alliance is a national outfit.
Okay.
But they are the minor leagues, basically.
Okay. I'm sure they're not going to like you saying that. But
oh, no, they
admitted that?
They say it in their press material.
Okay.
They're for fighters who want to showcase their skills for some of the major things.
Good.
I mean, they do well on their own there with the Legacy, but they are basically a minor league for the main MMA outfits. Legislation, we got a couple interesting little things here. Connecticut, the lottery is moving closer and closer to picking their sports betting partner. They asked for 4 or 5 sportsbook operators to respond to the RFP. The RFP is actually open to the general public in terms of sports betting operators who want to apply, but the lottery specifically asked for certain ones.
Okay.
They also clarified some of the other portions of the RFP, like minimum capital investment for retail, maximum deductions of annual costs, which affects the tax that the state's going to charge on the operator. Guaranteed minimum revenue share for each year of the 10-year license if it's higher than what the lottery has as a minimum requirement.
Okay.
Lottery wants a minimum of $5 million in year 1 and $10 million in years 2 through 10.
Okay.
So you can offer more to the state to get your license.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they want to do.
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
Yeah.
If you really want that Connecticut license, why not?
And they also want, and this is an interesting statement, they want a clear example of the proposed revenue share between the state, or the lottery, I should say, the Connecticut lottery and the sportsbook platform that they're talking to.
Well, okay. Well, Connecticut's doing their homework. Good for them.
Ohio, they're still tweaking some of the legislation. They just introduced their first sports betting bill last week. And they're looking at exactly what the language is and who can apply for licenses, whether casinos, racinos, sports betting operators, that sort of stuff. They're offering 40 licenses, 20 for existing and 20 for individuals that aren't tethered to the casinos. I love this statement by one of the senators. Under the bill as drafted, even the Ford Motor Company can get a sports betting license in Ohio. So they got some tweaking to do in Ohio for some of this stuff.
Look, they have a lot of examples to work with. I mean, they're not the first state that's going to enact sports betting legislation. They can look around. They can call up other states and ask the offices and say, what works good, where it doesn't work. I'm surprised it's taking this long. I mean, they're not breaking new ground here. They're breaking new ground in the state, but they're not breaking ground in legislation for sports betting.
Well, the way they have it set up, they could be the first uncapped, untethered sports betting market, the way the language is drafted right now.
Okay,
so, over in Washington State, they are moving very quickly with regards to sports betting. They now have 15 federally recognized tribes of the 29 total tribes that have now sports wagering compacts with the state. So a lot of the the gambling tribes, I hate to say it that way, the Native American tribes that have gambling, of the 29 of those, 15 of them now have sports betting compacts with the state.
Great.
Still got to go through all the voting, the rules, the approvals. Got to get signed by the governor. Then it's got to get approved by the federal agencies before they can be enacted. But they hope to have at least the rules generated for a public hearing June 10th.
Okay.
Going over to some deals, and we'll hit these real quickly given the time situation here we have. Let's see. BetMGM is in the news again, like they are almost every week. They have a multi-year agreement with the LPGA Tour.
Wow, great.
The first sports betting partner for the LPGA. They're going to be featuring LPGA odds in BetMGM's betting menu alongside the PGA Tour, the European Tour. They're not set aside. I finally realized that. They weren't set apart in the odds lists. When you go down the side menus and you see
the
sports,
LPGA
was not set aside. So that was kind of interesting. BetMGM will have rights to use the official tour logo in connection with advertising and promotion. They'll also have access to some of their players.
Great.
WynnBET. WynnBET is probably moving the most quiet but the most aggressive. Because you don't hear too much about WynnBET.
I see a lot of their commercials in New Jersey. But
you don't hear about them in the news too often.
I don't hear a lot about it, yeah.
They are now, they just executed a multi-year marketing partnership with the Memphis Grizzlies in Tennessee. They just launched 2 weeks ago in Tennessee. They have a deal with the Grizzlies. They're going to be all across the Grizzlies' digital footprint. Wherever you see something by the Grizzlies online or, app-wise, you're going to see some WynnBET stuff. They're also going to get a physical space at the FedEx Forum where the Grizzlies play.
What do you mean? Are they going to have a lounge like a lot of the
they don't know
have?
yet, but they are talking about a sports bar type design for this space. Doesn't have an opening date yet. They're planning to have.
So they're in discussions right now.
They're planning to have it open year round, not just on game days. A whole bunch of media attached to this. WynnBET will be the presenting partner of the Chris Vernon Show, which is a daily sports show. Will be the presenting partner of the Odds Couple, another sports betting show.
A great name.
The Odds Couple. It's clever.
It's a great name for a show.
Let's see. And the Grizzlies mobile app now offers fans a free-to-play game function with the WynnBET logo all over it. It's a free-to-play buzzer-beater picks in-app game for prizes and cool stuff like that.
Great.
Wynn Interactive, staying with Wynn, will be a independent company. They have just done a deal with a German company to create an independent public company called Wynn Interactive Limited. It's going to be trading under the ticker symbol WBET on the NASDAQ. And moving over to Sport Radar, real quickly, they signed a multi-year partnership with the Kyoto News Digital Association, the Japanese news agency.
Oh, okay.
So this news agency is going to be distributing their odds and stats and data, all that. And also, Sport Radar just secured a data and content agreement with the NBC Sports Regional Networks. So you're going to see Sport Radar helping enhance their broadcast with data, live odds, even some integrity stuff. That's sort of part of the deal. PointsBet did a deal with the Premier Turf Club in Oregon for online horse racing. As you know, PointsBet's now launching online casinos everywhere. They now have an online horse racing deal. And last but not least, Full House Resorts, in their earnings call, reported that 5 out of their 6 sports wagering skins are now up and running in Colorado. 6 will be coming soon. They're expecting a contractual minimum of $7 million a year from all these different skins. And the last skin, Smarkets in Indiana, will launch in the next few months. That's it for this week's book report. There are a lot of stories we did not hit. There was a lot of activity this week. Head on over to TurnpikeSportsRadio.com, click on the blog button. You'll see the print version of the Turnpike Sports book report there after the episode has posted.
And that'll do it for us this week. We'll see you next time on the Turnpike.